Modded Minecraft has gone through a lot of changes and so-called eras over the years, with one project spearheading the face of mods for many years. That project being Forge, the widely successful mod loader which got its start all the way back in the beta stage of Minecraft. But recently, it has fallen on hard times, with a huge amount of their devs splitting off to create Neoforge. So with the future of Forge being uncertain, we should ask ourselves the question, what happened? And where do we go now? Hi there, I'm Lunar, Minecraft historian and journalist, and today we will be starting a deep dive into Minecraft's modded history, starting with the birth of mods to the multi-loader shouting match that we find ourselves in now. So let's start with part 1, the rise and fall of Forge. First off, let me get some background in. Modded Minecraft is a lot older than people give it credit, with the first ever mods being very different than what most people think. In 2009, the first ever multiplayer update released, and with it came the genesis of modding. Players in the community took it upon themselves to modify Mojang's early server software to allow for custom code to run on it. In the beginning, these were just primitive versions of what we would call plugins today, with bug fixes, /home commands, and the very basic changes that will allow server admins to moderate their servers more efficiently. This created the foundation of a little known project called HMod, created by H0. This software allowed for the first real plugins to be loaded, and to a degree, changed how Minecraft worked, and as a result quickly became one of the most popular server mods out there during the testing stage of Minecraft. Multiplayer, however, would be removed a couple updates later, with it returning in Minecraft Alpha, and this is also where Minecraft saw its first actual clients. See, before this, Minecraft was just played into the browser, like an online MMO or something. With the release of these clients, the first real client-sided mods became available. These being just simple texture upgrades, general bug fixes that Mojang didn't do yet, or modifications of already existing items in the game. But there was a small issue. Minecraft's code was very hard to dig through. See, it was very easy to take Minecraft apart, but the code was obfuscated. This means that the code is genuinely unreadable for human eyes, and coders essentially had to play Tetris, but with every piece, it would constantly change the shape until you found exactly what it was. Eventually, some people had enough, and one individual by the name of Michael Stoke created Minecraft's Coder Pack, a tool that could take those Tetris pieces and essentially identify them for you. This lowered the difficulty to develop mods significantly, and as a result, client-sided mods became more and more available. At the server side, H0 lost interest in HMod, and in an incredible show of foreshadowing, many of the developers of that mod left to create the ill-fated Bukkit project. And you can learn more about Bukkit and its downfall right here. But for our purposes, we will flash forward to when today's subject was born. During Minecraft's beta stage, we got some of the most recognizable mods at the time. The Ether mod, Buildcraft, Railcraft, and Industrial Craft all trace their origins back to this time. However, the most popular mod loader at the time, called modloader, very original, I know, was still limited and primitive, and it still required people to inject the code into the game, rather than today's method of the loader actually doing that for you. Meaning if two mods shared a lot of code in general, or changed too much stuff in Minecraft itself, it could not function together. Eventually, Eloram, creator of Red Power, would team up with Space Toad from the Buildcraft team to create a mod loader that would allow multiple mods to actually be hooked into the game, without the risk of breaking Minecraft. They would call this project Forge, and would start out as just an add-on for the mod loader. But with this, the course of Minecraft history shifted, and the modding community entered its first real golden era, with the first real mod packs coming into existence around this time, with the first ever Tekkit pack, then called Technic pack, being made for the beta release of the game. However, soon after Minecraft's official release, the entire Forge team kinda lost interest and handed the project over to Lex Manos. Did you hear that sound? That was the sound of every mod developer shivering in fear of the mention of him alone. So remember Lex, as we need to talk about him a little bit later in this video. Eventually, this new team would actually release a mod loader more similar to what we know today, where the mods are actually loaded into the program from the start rather than having to install them and overwrite files. It would use mappings to communicate with Minecraft and its many subsystems, and with that, it became far more powerful than Rizugami's mod loader, and it would surpass its predecessor in popularity. Eventually, Curse, a website hosting mods for a variety of games, took notice and created CurseForge, allowing mods made for the Forge mod loader to be hosted on their platform, and even Bucket plugins being listed on their platform. It's important to mention, however, that CurseForge and Forge mod loader are not the same thing. I've seen this in a lot of comments, but it's not the same thing. CurseForge is owned by Overwolf, Forge mod loader is owned by Forge. However, there was one thing that would haunt Forge and eventually bring it down. Lex Manos. Now, before we start this piece off, I am reporting this as an outsider's perspective. I only have stories, written testimonies, and Neoforge's statements about him to go off of. My intent here is not to damage his image, but it's important to the story that we talk about him, because I made that joke earlier about devs shivering in fear of the very thought of him. However, it's more the sound of 1,000 pitchforks being raised, as people really hate this guy. He would flat out refuse to listen to developers when they asked for features to be added, features desperately needed in some cases to update their mod beyond 1.12.2, and he would act rudely towards mod makers, really talking down to them. These images come from Fireplace's Discord, who has an entire chat about Lex being somewhat condescending toward developers. And after Fabric's release, things got heated. This sparked the first real notion that other mod loaders could exist in the same space as Forge, and that Forge wasn't just a big monolith that no one could replace. Many more Minecraft updates came and went, and with the years ticking by, the modding community would be in for one last big shift. On July of 2023, an announcement was made in Forge's Discord. A large group of Forge developers defected and took over the Discord to rebrand it NeoForge. And not only that, they would develop a wholly new mod loader of the same name. CPW, who made the announcement, attributed this change to Lex's previous and continued behavior towards dev and staff alike. His constant insulting or banning people for even discussing other mod loaders in online spaces caused the team to make a choice. Do nothing and watch Forge slowly die of a death of 1,000 cuts as the team disintegrated, or fork the project and start from scratch. And according to CPW, in the post that he made discussing the issue a day later, the fork was necessary. Quote, "We had to fork because many of the core assets were licensed by Lex's company Forge LLC. It's better for us to fork and rebrand. We will be removing those assets that are part of the Minecraft Forge project as we develop our own brand and styling. And at this point in time, it is also in communication with the Fabric team, and they are getting ready to cut compatibility with the original Forge project, meaning old Forge mods might not work on NeoForge when that happens. But we will cover NeoForge in more depth in their own dedicated video. But where does this leave Forge? From all the reports I could gather, Forge, development-wise, is in trouble, with the skeleton crew still putting out updates to the mod loader, but it's my personal opinion that eventually Forge will either cease development or just develop at such a slow pace to the point that other mod loaders will strive far ahead of it. So with all this being said, what do we take away from this story? I think the story of Forge is a good cautionary tale. A story about how continued mistreatment and condescending behavior eventually can bring down, or at least cripple, a once mighty giant. The modding scene and online community has changed over the years. Minecraft, at its core, is a creative sandbox for both players, server hosts, and developers. So projects that refuse to adopt or accept creative changes won't last. And I'm not saying people should listen to little Timmy's demand to make every sound in Minecraft some variation of a fart sound, but being flexible and understanding is what gives life to any project and will grow trust with your community. Mistakes can happen, and will always happen, but I think Forge has gone too far to go back now. People will always play mods on Forge, but it remains to be seen for how long Forge will exist as a major player in the space, with the new players gaining momentum fast. With that being said, I was Lunar, you were very awesome, and I'll see you in part 2.